Hello, I'm Pietro from ChainSecurity. I'm going to talk about two novel on-chain oracle manipulations vector that we have found recently and that we feel like sharing. ChainSecurity, we are an auditing team. We are about 20 engineers. We're operating since 2017. Many complex projects audited. I'm Pietro. I've been in cybersecurity for about 10 years and for about 2 years doing smart contract audits. I will talk about oracle manipulation and multi-block MEV. So, multi-block MEV was mentioned today. It's something that came up when Ethereum moved from proof of work to proof of stake. In proof of work, you can have proposers, so miners, mine consecutive blocks, but they don't know it in advance. So there's no way to reliably exploit the MEV that's available if you control consecutive blocks. In proof of stake, a miner knows his slot in advance. He knows, not a miner, sorry, a proposer knows in advance when they're gonna propose, and they might know they are gonna propose 2 blocks consecutively. What can you do if you can propose 2 blocks consecutively? Let's, for example, make the case of a pool which has a internal price feed, like a Uniswap v3 pool, which has a time-weighted average price. What does it do? Every end of block, it takes the price that's currently trading at, and it multiplies by a weight, and it returns in that way a time-weighted average of the prices that the pool is traded at. Not all prices enter this average. If I make a huge trade, for example, which moves the price a lot, this price doesn't immediately enter the average. It gets there later if it is recorded at the end of a block. And this is to avoid the issue of manipulation, because I might do wash trading, for example. I make a huge trade in one direction and then the trade back. So I don't lose to arbitrageurs who could exploit the price imbalance in the pool, but still this price would enter in the oracle. That would be a problem, and that's why the price is recorded at the end of a block, because even if I control the block, if I leave the price manipulated, the next block is gonna get my MEV. So the arbitrage opportunity can be exploited by the next block producer. So yeah, the point here, the proposer can, if they control 2 blocks, or let's say they control 1 block, but they can include a transaction in the previous block, which is the case in most cases, because you can go through flash bots, or you can make a single transaction which takes the whole block space. Then you can put the manipulation transaction at block n-1, and then put the other manipulation transaction which puts the price back at the normal value in block n, which you control, so you don't lose to arbitrageurs. You lose to for example, Uniswap fees, if this is what you're exploiting, but it might be worth it. For example, if this oracle is used in a lending market, then maybe you can trigger liquidations, or you can borrow unbacked tokens. So we got 2 main cases of on-chain oracles. There's Uniswap. As I described, you get a time weight. So this TI plus 1 minus TI is a factor that is proportional with the amount of time the price is kept, and then the price at the end of the block enters this average. Curve also have on-chain oracles. It's a bit more complex. It's an exponential moving average. In the oracle, there's the old value of the oracle and the latest price at the end of a block. The difference between these two is that in Uniswap v3, the actual price at the end of a block enters the oracle. So if I'm able to manipulate the price by 1000%, even if I'm only controlling a little bit of the weight of the oracle, it can still have a big impact on the overall average. Because the price at the end of a block, if I'm able to control that because I also control the next block, it's basically can be manipulated in an unbounded way if I'm willing to pay the Uniswap fees. In Curve, it's different. The price which enters the oracle at the end of a block is at most twice the oracle price. So if I'm manipulating by more than 2x, this will not show in the Curve oracle. So if I only control 2 consecutive blocks, that's to say, on Curve, I cannot have a huge impact. So the first part of my talk is gonna be about what can I do to control more than 2 consecutive blocks, more than 1 block transition. This can be impactful, as we said. Let's say I want to propose to control 3 consecutive blocks. So a way would be to be the proposer of these 3 blocks. But this means I have to have staked a lot of ETH and be randomly selected for 3 consecutive blocks. As we saw earlier, this is the case for existing proposers, but these existing proposers are trusted by the ecosystem as stakers of ETH. So it's unlikely that they will try to exploit these MEV vectors because, for example, Lido is giving them ETH to stake. Lido would probably withdraw the ETH if they saw the stakers misbehaving. Also, you need very high capital for this kind of things, and yeah, this capital has to come from somewhere. This can be a problem, for example, if I don't know, North Korea begins staking their stolen ETH, then this could be a problem at the consensus layer, but it is not the case yet. So let's exclude being the proposer of many consecutive blocks as a strategy for a random hacker. Can we fill consecutive blocks so that no arbitrage can happen and we can sustain the price manipulation for a long time? Well, the problem here is, let's say, we manipulate the price at time n, and then we want to keep it manipulated until time n plus 3. In between n and n plus 3, there will be 2 blocks proposed, and in these blocks, there will be a huge MEV value, which means it's possible to extract the money I put in the manipulation. Anybody can extract that and set the price back to normal, basically. So I want to censor these transactions in a way. One way could be to, for example, spam the network and put and publish transactions that take all the block space, but then this would trigger a gas auction, basically. The price of gas would grow as much as the possible profit from the arbitrage. So I would still lose my capital investment of the manipulation because the gas price would become so high for me to censor transactions. So the new idea here is that we can buy slashing proofs. What does it mean? So proposers of future blocks are known in advance, actually up to 64 blocks, but in general 32 blocks for sure. An attacker can bribe them in exchange of a slashing proof. Why? When a proposer is slashed, let's say I'm slashed at time n, and I will propose at time n30. I might know in advance that I will be the proposer, but I can decide in advance to be slashed and not be able to propose. The slashing penalty is 1 ETH plus a variable amount, which I think the formula is actually wrong, but it's almost correct. But this only kicks in for a huge slashing event. So in general, it's 1 Ether. A slashing proof consists of two blocks headers that are signed by the same two block headers for the same block number that are signed by the same proposer. And the slash proposer immediately cannot propose anymore. So if I'm a manipulator and I control one block, I can buy slashing proofs for the blocks previous to mine and be sure that no transactions will be included in that block. For example, block A is controlled by the attacker, block 16 there. Block B is the block proposed by the proposer that I bribe to self-slash. I include my manipulating transaction at block 14. So now at block 15, there will be no chance for anybody, for the proposer or for any MEV searcher to include a transaction. And block 16, I control, so I can censor any transaction. The slashing happens before my transaction is included. So my transaction, which shows the manipulation, is included at block 14. The slashing proof is both at block 8. So what does it mean? It means that the proposer of block 15 has no way to they don't know the MEV value that they're giving up by self-slashing. I can simply buy a slashing proof for 1 Ether, about more than 1 Ether, which is more than the slashing penalty, and they will be happy in a way because they will make more profit than what they're losing. But if they knew what I would be about to publish, then they could choose not to self-slash and instead extract the arbitrage opportunity, which might be millions of dollars instead of only 1 Ether. So they have no leverage for the bribe price in that sense. Yeah, so for the attacker, the costs are locking 32 Ether to be a staker. If you are a solo validator with 32 Ether locked, you get on average 2.6 blocks proposal per year. So you can conduct this attack if you want. Then the cost is the buying of a slashing proof. As we said, there's this economic argument for which it costs about what? It costs about 1 Ether plus a tip. Then there is the cost of placing a transaction reliably at block 14, which we don't control. So this might be through flashbots or through a transaction taking all the block space with a very high priority fee. And finally, the AMM trading fees of the manipulation we are performing. Yeah, so the interesting part of this attack is that the price of the manipulation, the price of the bribe does not depend on the intended price change. So it does not depend on the amount of arbitrage, the amount of extractable value that is generated by the manipulation, which is not the case in other conditions. This is a mechanism that's basically it depends on how the consensus specification is formulated and the fact that being slashed, you can get slashed and not be able to propose in a block where it's common knowledge over the network that you will be the proposer. We have been in talks with the Ethereum Foundation about this. This is kind of out of scope for consensus bugs, but it could be fixed by, for example, allowing slashing proposer to still propose during the current epoch. Part 2, something similar, also relating to multi-block MEV, so Oracle manipulation over multiple blocks. And this is on L2s, which have a FIFO transaction processing policy. So, yeah, proof of work, everybody mines every block. Proof of stake, the block producer are known in advance. On L2s, rollups, there is a centralized sequencer that produces every block. And they choose the transaction ordering. So the ordering policy is determined by the sequencer. There are several available possible ordering policies. There are, for example, sequencers that have mempools which load up with transactions, and then the transactions are ordered by the priority fee. But there's also sequencers that order the transactions in a first in, first out way. So basically, the first transaction that is received will be processed first. There is no public mempool, so a transaction is known to the rest of the network only when it is published in a block. So what does this imply in terms of multi-block MEV? Let's say we know about a transaction in a block. The transaction, which is known, transaction A, becomes public only when the block is published. So we can send another transaction before the block is published. In this case of manipulation, we will be sending transaction A, and we will be sending transaction B before transaction A is known to the network. Again, so transaction 1 is revealed at the end of block N. We send transaction 2 before transaction 1 is revealed, but we time it just so that it will not be included in block N, it will be included in block N+1. So we send it about at this time, but it will be included in this block. This means transaction 1 manipulates the price up, transaction 2 manipulates the price down. We don't lose to arbitrage because we extract our own MEV. We don't need to be the proposers. Nobody knows about TX1 until also block N is published, but TX2 has already been received, so it will be the one included. These will be affecting oracles that read markets that are priced by these pools on L2. So yeah, on Ethereum, only proposers can do this multi-block MEV. On L2s that have FIFO ordering, anyone can do this kind of multi-block MEV. There are some limitations. For example, speculative backrunning, which means if I know these kind of things are going on, I can try to send my transactions which rebalance pool, even if I don't know that a pool is being manipulated. I just hope that my transactions get there. As let's say there's some attacker that is doing this, and I'm a searcher, and I try to fit a transaction in between these two in a kind of speculative way. It costs me very little if I don't hit it, but it gives me a very big profit if I do. So the conclusions are that we have two novel mechanisms to achieve multi-block MEV. One is to bribe proposers to set flash, and the other is timing consecutive transaction on FIFO L2s. So bribing proposers to set flash is interesting from a theoretical point of view, but there needs to be a slashing proof market that develops before this is widely exploitable. I think we are safe for a while. On FIFO L2s, our recommendation is be careful when using oracles that rely on these markets as a primary source of price for a project. So there is a write-up on our website at this address. It was part of the audit of Euler price oracles. Many thanks, and you can reach me on Telegram. Yep. So proposal builder separation doesn't solve multi-block MEV exactly. It's a way to have a competition for MEV strictly, but not really for multi-block MEV. Yeah. It not really. I think it doesn't impact it really because in the end, the builder kind of takes the role of the proposer in this scheme of things. But still, if you are creating a big amount of multi-block MEV, the proposer can just ignore the builder and put in their transactions instead. So, yeah.
So 88% of proposers are running MEV boosts.
Yeah.
So they don't really look into the transactions that are sent by the builders and decide with the human thinking.
Yeah, but still the builders, they compete to be accepted by the proposers.
But it's easier for a builder to be 5 blocks in a row, as we saw in the previous presentation,
Yeah.
than it would be for a proposer. It's very unlikely to
Yeah.
3 blocks in a row. But for a builder, they can have 5, maybe more.
Yeah, but if at the first block you start creating a huge amount of MEV, then another builder will participate in the auction, and it will not be the same builder 5 blocks in a row, basically. This only happens when the MEV stake are not so high, because otherwise the other builder is very incentivized to get accepted by the second proposer.
Yeah, so for the first attack vector, it turns out that you have to kind of social engineer the proposer. And you have only like 4 minutes window because you have to know
Yeah.
who will be the proposer in
Yeah.
and then social engineer them.
It's not really social engineering because you're not tricking the proposer.
And you're paying them, but you have to know whom to pay. And
Yeah.
you have to like talk to an actual person.
Yeah, I mean, it would require a sort of market for these lashing proofs.
Yeah.
This could be a smart contract on Ethereum, for example. It's easy to implement. but yeah, it requires some degree of
It's either luck or preparation.
yeah, the proposer have to be willing to engage on this market, but you don't need to trust the proposer once the transaction has been done. So there's no like a trust required from one side to the other and vice versa. Yeah.
Why does it have to be slashing? But couldn't be, for example, like an escrow mechanism where like the driver puts the funds in escrow and then a proposer misses slots on purpose and then claims that the escrow is some kind of code.
Yeah, but then then the proposer can choose whether to extract the MEV or take the escrow. And so the escrow has to be proportional to the MEV, basically. If I'm creating $1 million of MEV because I'm manipulating the price in a pool, then the escrow would have also to be $1 million. While like this, the proposer, once it has accepted the bride, has no way to change his mind.
I don't remember all the rules if you want, but as a proposer, can I accept the bride and join the exit queue?
And
Join the exit queue for proposers so that I don't have to be slashed?
I think there's a delay for that. Yeah, yeah. You are still slashable up to, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Maybe check how hard it is to get few elbows to get one transaction in one block and another transaction in the second block.
There is some research by MEV searchers that's public, but I haven't tried personally. But apparently it's not that hard. How hard it is to get one transaction in one block and the next transaction in the next block on FIFO L2s. Hmm?
Would this idea of self-slashing have an incentive alignment issue because it would reduce the transactions per second?
Yes, I think it could be seen as a small flaw in the consensus mechanism because it creates these incentives to basically self-slash, which is not a good thing. Yeah. Thank you.